This is the vivo V27e, which Vivo has marketed it as a smartphone for influencers. And heck, they have even got us to write a sponsored article telling you why influencers will fall in love with this phone. So I am technically an influencer. So does this phone work for me after using for 2 weeks? Let's find out. So there's one thing that I really agree with Vivo, that this is a rather Instagrammable phone, because look at this design here. This is a very nice lavender purple color, which is actually hard to come by for a smartphone that costs below 1,500 ringgit. And look at this feather, peacock feather like holographic design here. It really looks unique, and a lot of people are just going to ask you what phone this is when they see this special effect right here. And I think it is a really nice touch that Vivo has done here. Now, of course, this casing uses the fluoride AG process that Vivo has used back on its V25 series, and it is the same here on the V27e, which is why you're seeing some gradient color changes as you shine it upon the light. And this is a design I kind of like it. Now, this phone is still a very lightweight phone that measures 7.7mm thin, and it only weighs about 185 grams, which is very lightweight. And I really love the aesthetics that this phone offers. The buttons are all at the right placement, and really there's no rough edges around here or sharp edges to make you feel uncomfortable holding the phone. Now, as an entry device in the V27 series, the V27e features several upgrades over its predecessor, and that includes its 6.62-inch Sunlight AMOLED display that refreshes at 120Hz. And one thing that I'm really happy about the display is that they finally dropped that water drop notch, and now it has a punch-hole camera cutout. The bezels are also more symmetrical, there's no thick chin at the bottom, so it makes it a more modern and probably a little bit premium when it comes to its design. Another upgrade that this phone has is, of course, a larger battery at 4,600 mAh that also supports faster charging at 66 watts. And that is actually relatively important for influencers who takes a lot of photos and they tend to drain their batteries quickly and they need to get their devices charged back up really fast. So that's actually a nice upgrade that Vivo has given right here. And finally, there's this ring light at the back here, which Vivo calls it the Aura light, and it essentially works as a soft lighting for your portraits. Otherwise, the rest of the internals remains the same as the V25e. The V27e is powered by the MediaTek Helio G99 chipset, paired with 8GB of RAM and 256GB of storage. Storage can be further expanded with a micro SD card, which is actually a great thing for influencers who wants to store a lot of photos on this phone. Now, of course, to some people out there, you might be disappointed that this isn't packed with the latest chipset or whatsoever, but I can assure you that the MediaTek Helio G99 chipset is a really decent chipset when it comes to doing social media and lightweight gaming, and it's by far one of the most reliable mid-range chipsets that we have ever come across. On a side note, the vivo V27e comes running Android 13 out of the box, so that's actually a good thing compared to many other mid-range phones that we have seen this year, because most of them are still running on Android 12, and God knows when they are going to receive the latest update to the next major version of Android. So Vivo says that this phone is made for influencers, and naturally, we are going to talk about its cameras. So the vivo V27e features a triple camera system that is the same from the V25e. It houses a 64-megapixel OIS camera, complemented by a 2-megapixel depth and 2-megapixel macro lens. Now, it is a little disappointing that Vivo didn't upgrade the camera system on this thing. I mean, I wouldn't have blamed them if they haven't upgraded the processor, because they really should have just upgraded the camera to a slightly better one. I mean, that 2 other supplementary lenses is really useless because they're just gimmicks on this phone. I would have really preferred that they include a 5-megapixel ultra-wide lens, because even though I know that it's not pretty, but having an ultra-wide lens is definitely more useful than having a depth or macro lens. So the 64-megapixel OIS camera is definitely the highlight right here, and as you can see in these images, it really looks good when taken in low light, and it is definitely one of the best mid-range phone cameras that we have seen out there. And even when it comes to low light, if you're in a well-lit low light environment, this phone actually captures really nice photos, but not unless you go use this camera in extremely dim scenarios where there's almost no lighting at all. You can actually see a lot of noise and loss of detail. As for selfies, you are serviced by a 32-megapixel front-facing camera that's really good when it comes to colors and details, and I really love the beautify effect that this phone really has. It really turns me into some K-pop star. So, what about videos? Unfortunately, that is not the strong suit of the vivo V27e because it only supports a video recording resolution of up to 1080p 60 fps, which to be honest isn't too bad for some vloggers out there because you might just want to use it to shoot some TikTok videos which you do need 4K resolution anyway. But look at this video recording sample that I just took. I had the stabilization effect turned on, and even with the OIS module inside this camera, the video still looks very shaky and it's not the nicest 1080p quality that we have seen on mid-range phones out there. And yeah, before I forget, let's talk about this aura light because it is the most important feature of the V27e. Now, I really appreciate Vivo putting this light right here because it can really help light up portraits when in dimly lit situations. But unfortunately, this light isn't exactly the softest that we have seen out there. So if you use it at a close distance, your subject might actually get really blinded by this light because it's so bright that you really need to use this hour light at a distance in order to brighten up your shots. And when you do that, sometimes not necessarily your shots actually look great. So yeah, I really appreciate this hour light right here, but I kind of wish that there's something that we can do to adjust the brightness of this light, just like we do on some of those external soft lights that we use out there. When it comes to battery life, there's definitely no need to worry about the vivo V27e because it can comfortably last through the day if you're using a 2 to 3 hour screen on time, and you might probably just need to charge it till the next day. And don't forget, there's a 66 watt fast charging feature that could juice up the phone in no time. So, is this the perfect phone for influencers? Well, not exactly. I mean, this phone definitely has a great design here that will capture a lot of attention and people will be asking you what phone this really is. It has a great camera, great display, great battery life, and great performance, which is essentially things that an influencer really cares. But unfortunately, the camera system is just a little underwhelming. I mean, the main camera is great because this is a mid-range phone. You definitely do not expect the best out of a camera system. But seriously, Vivo should really just fix these two supplementary lenses and make them more useful for influencers to use. And let's not forget that this phone still doesn't take 4K videos and you're paying over 1,000 ringgit for this phone right here. So yeah, I do really hope that Vivo ups its game in the next V series E model upgrade and include 4K video on this because it will be really useful for influencers on a tight budget. And finally, Vivo, please make a brightness control feature for this hour light because pretty please, we really need this. Alright, so that sums up my thoughts on the Vivo V27e. Overall, this is a really great phone and it's really affordable at just 1,299 ringgit. So let me know what are your thoughts in the comments down below and be sure to subscribe to our channel for more videos coming right up, and I'll see you guys in the next one.